Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So today we're gonna have Fintech versus TabascoSauce, where we have went from 128 participants all the way down to 8. So these are the best of the best. We already know 2 semi-finalists, and now it's time to find out who's gonna get to semis next. Now unfortunately that we had some technical issues, and this isn't going to be a split view. This is going to be from the point of view from Fintech. We had some trouble with the TabascoSauce footage. I'll explain that afterwards and what happened and all of that stuff. But meanwhile, we can see that Finn is going up against TabascoSauce, and obviously if you know Finn, then you know that he's an amazing player. My alliance mate, my ball group mate, actually doing some heavy hardcore lifting in Alliance Wars, and incredibly talented. And obviously TabascoSauce is also up there, a member of TCN. Right, so they are finishing up their draft. Here Finn is selecting his last 2 champions, which will be Mephisto and Mordo. TabascoSauce picks the last champion he can draft, and then Finn has to go ahead. Now the rules have slightly been altered for the use of strikers, basically because majority of the tournament was run without relics being a thing. In the remaining of the rounds, just because Kabam has input amazingly high cost of unbinding relics, because it turns out that you can that unbind cost is shared by all of your relics. It's very expensive to get them unbinded. So the relics are allowed to exist on champions. The use of strikers is not allowed in the tournament until, well, it finishes, because majority of the tournament existed without strikers. Now all the upcoming tournaments in future will feature strikers quite heavily. Now that being said, let's see the matches here. So Finn is going with Hyperion against Nick Fury, and let's see who TabascoSauce chooses here for his fight against Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom always can be quite annoying, but obviously he has quite good options there in form of Scorpion, in form of Archangel. He chooses to go Scorpion. This is the rich get richer meta, so Hyperion's going to be gaining a ton of power. Let's see how this fight works out for Finn. On paper, I would definitely favor Scorpion against Doom over Hyperion versus Nick Fury, just because of the 2 health bar thing, and also that Scorpion can benefit quite nicely from opponents getting somewhat more power and triggering the sting damage more often. And here is the first throw. He throws his level 2 in a block and immediately gets comboed, and that unfortunately means the fight is over here. So we're going to skip the 30 seconds as Finn is looking for his match, and obviously TabascoSauce won this one. He finished it in 62 seconds, and yeah, that was extremely unfortunate start of the match for Fintech, and it just went down and fast, and also he got quite unfortunate that Nick finished that combo with a light. But let's see what happens now. So we have Penny Parker for Finn to tackle and Domino for TabascoSauce. So he chooses to go with the Archangel, which in this meta I definitely wouldn't do. I think with this meta it's much riskier. I'd probably try to do this fight with Hulkling, most likely. But let's see how Archangel handles this Domino. But we have Mordo against Penny Parker. Another one quite unique matchup here. A matchup that I personally don't often or always use. But let's see how Mordo does here, because Finn has definitely showed the versatility of Mordo in past matches. For instance, when he took down Domino using this guy. So here he drops a heavy attack, charges up his level 1, sweet. So now he needs to try and get that shield down, and actually by the looks of it, it definitely seems that Mordo isn't doing too bad. Penny's AI was quite a bit uncooperative, but that level 2 is doing decently meaningful damage here already, and most importantly the shield is down. He needs to get his Furies back and pronto, and he is all the way up to 13 Furies. He drops another level 2. This time Penny does have a Fury buff, so the Soul Barb is actually doing damage, but she does have her force field charges back up, And he also got power burned, where most of this damage came from because of Penny throwing level 1s and Mordo crossing bars of power quite quickly. So he chooses, well, he gets to level 3 and he is going to drop that immediately. Let's see if that can trigger some regeneration here. Nope, it's all Furies, but these level 3 Furies are more potent, so it is worth the note. Let's see here. Unfortunately, he gets auto-blocked yet again. And that power drain is definitely putting in work, and there is the second power drain, and this is not looking good. This is one of those fights where it just looks extremely frustrating to be a part of. And Penny's power burn with that level 1 spam definitely has left a big mark in Mordo's health here. Now here he goes for several level 1s and just basically kind of goes super aggro. But Penny's down to 1%. And unfortunately, Fintech here loses this round as well. So TabascoSauce takes the lead early. Not the best start for Finn. Let's move on to the next ones where they finish up their drafting process. And here is last champions. Finn is picking Mr. Fantastic and Nick Fury. As also Hercules, Penny Parker, CGR, and Quicksilver. So far, TabascoSauce has drafted, by the looks of it, there Scorpion, Spider-Ham, Massacre, Hercules, Sasquatch. And now he has to select his last 2 champs. He's still kind of thinking quite lengthy about this one. Looks like it's going to be Domino and Omega Red. Rank 4 Omega Reds is an absolute ban pretty much in most of the metas for me personally, especially typically because Omega Red is one of those champions where only people that play him very well typically end up taking Omega Red rank 4. And if you have a good Omega Red fight, Omega just counters so many champions, and if you can play Omega well, you can finish out fights extremely fast with or without Liquid Courage Double Edge. So let's see, Finn's first fight is going to be Sasquatch, and he chooses to drop Nick Fury as an opposing champion for that. Now, obviously, TabascoSauce has quite few options here. He can go with virtually majority of his draft there. He can pick Omega Red, Domino, Hercules, Massacre. All of them would be solid options there. He chooses to go with Domino, probably because Finn got to draft his Omega Sentinel in the end, and Finn is going to go with Mr. Fantastic. Now, that does bring joy to my heart, because Mr. Fantastic is one of my personal favorite champions, and I absolutely love the guy. Right. So let's see how well Finn handles this fight. Because with Rich Get Richer, I mean, it can get quite spicy pending when the Fury buff is procced and pending how quickly Sasquatch enters that Wrath of Tanarak mode. But Sasquatch is always pretty much a solid defensive play because of his massive health pool and the damage reduction he gains from the rage charges. Now, luckily, the Fury activated quite late, so to speak, at the point when Finn already was able to drop his second, he get his second set of buffs, drop his first level 2. Therefore, he immediately has the ability to mitigate most of the Rich Get Richer power gain there. And he also is quite free throwing his special one, so that lets Mr. Fantastic get Careful Steady debuff pretty much immediately. And now the final level 2 for the fight, more than likely, gets placed. That's quite neat. And at this point also, it's always nice when Sasquatch enters Wrath of Tanarak quite quickly, and then it also basically, you know, finishes quite quickly because it didn't have as many charges, because then you are allowed to do most of your damage quite freely, and the damage mitigation mechanic doesn't come as much into play. And here we can see that at this point, with 36 seconds on the clock, Sasquatch is down, and Finn did this fight 2 seconds quicker, but also with way more health, so he does take the round 1 of the second match. And it's going to be interesting to see how this works out for the remainder of the fights here. Both players definitely have access to some excellent champions, so it's more than likely that it's going to depend on the execution. Tabasco is going to have to fight a Penny. Finn is going to have to fight Spider-Ham. And here, again, seemingly the best option is going to be Hercules for Finn. And likewise, it is going to be Hercules more than likely for TabascoSauce. He could also go with Massacre, yes, and that is exactly what he does. Massacre is a good penny counter, but Massacre does require quite high level of play. We'll see how that works out, but we're going to get to see Hercules against Spider-Ham, and Hercules is also a quite good option against Spider-Ham, especially in Rich Get Richer meta, as you can get power quite quickly, and as long as you can get rid of your power bars, you never will have to worry about Spider-Ham's evade as well. And Hercules is the type of champion that can quite easily basically let his level 1s rip. At this point, he again has 2 buffs active. He's benefiting from Rich Get Richer, and he just wants to get in a couple more feats of power for Hercules in order to do even more damage, which is exactly what he does now. He goes for his heavy attack, and then again heavy attack chains into level 1. Now unfortunately, due to taunt, the damage there is reduced, but it also keeps his health bar topped up, and all the way up until now Spider-Ham only has 2 nonsense charges. Up until he gets 6, he cannot evade, he will not evade, and as long as Finn continues to drop his level 1s in a timely manner, that fight is going to be finished quite quickly. And now 1 minute in this fight, basically Finn is going for the kill, lost 8% health, and there unfortunately 1% remains, but Finn finishes with perfect 100% health, and perfect Massacre fight could have outpaced this match, but again keep in mind that this is on Rich Get Richer node, and that definitely can complicate things for Massacre, because aside from the dexterity buff, Massacre can't gain anything else. And we can see that it took 90 seconds and a third of Massacre's health to finish this fight. So Finn does quickly equal out the score. So that is exactly what we like to see. And now we're going to see the finish of their drafts for round 3. TabascoSauce finishing it with Valkyrie and Human Torch. Human Torch is obviously always extremely dangerous champion for opponents to have. And Finn is going to pick Hulkling, who is probably the MVP of this entire, or one of the MVPs of this entire meta. And also Penny Parker now is there. And TabascoSauce has an option of CGR and Silver Surfer. And if I'm 100% honest, I personally actually prefer fighting against Penny Parker with Silver Surfer. It seems to be more calculated, less RNG type of fight. Because if you want to do Penny Parker with CGR really safely, typically, you know, it will involve you getting rid of the shield, but Silver Surfer can do that much quicker, in my opinion. And yeah, specifically for Penny Parker fight, I personally definitely prefer Silver Surfer, but we'll see how it works out, because there's also Hercules that is perfectly capable of doing that fight. And speaking of Hercules, that is exactly who Finn chooses to take Nick Fury, that TabascoSauce has placed on defense there for him. And instead of any of that, we see that Valkyrie is going to come into play. Now, this fight, I'm not going to lie, I would definitely place in the favor for Valkyrie, because she is pretty much perfect for this meta. She can finish the entire fight without ever hitting Penny Parker directly, thanks to Rich Get Richer. She will be gaining power, thus being able to drop those level 2s much quicker, and with that ramp up and do damage much faster. And here Finn again makes a mistake against Nick Fury. Nick Fury in this match seems to be kind of like a cursed opponent for Finn, and it definitely is. Both of the fights that we have seen him go up against Nick Fury haven't necessarily been perfect, but he is obviously gonna pick it up on the recovery. Here he has 9 feats of strength, which is obviously already, you know, pretty much close to a full ramp up. Now he goes for 11 with that big level 2. Unfortunately, nothing there crits up until the final hit, but the final hit does crit, and that pretty much immediately destroys Nick Fury's life model decoy. And here he is immediately basically back at it. He has to go for another level 2, and let's see if that is enough to finish this fight. It is indeed, and that was a very smooth finish. Unfortunately, there was a mistake at the beginning, but we'll see whether he is going to get punished for it, because Valkyrie definitely is capable enough of winning this fight with perfect health, pretty much. So let's see how TabascoSauce is doing with Valkyrie against Penny Parker, and he also seems to have made a mistake. He didn't lose quite as much health, but the time difference was enough to let Finn win this round 1. Definitely well played to both, but both of them made some mistakes in their fights. But again, Finn manages to get the W by being quicker in this one. So that's well played there. Shuri on defense. It's always quite exciting to see one of the newer champions on defense that very few players have access to. Let's see what is to happen now. We have Hyperion being placed on defense by Finn for TabascoSauce. And here, I think it's quite obvious that the best shot is CGR, because CGR can nullify the power gain and gain more buffs than Hyperion will. And then we have Nimrod going on defense here going on offense against Shuri, by the looks of it. And I think this is kind of a throw on the behest of Finn, because Shuri is shock immune, and Nimrod does majority of his damage through shock. I would be shocked if Finn does get this round, because yeah, I not that I'm an expert against Shuri, but I do not quite see how Nimrod can win this against CGR. And if CGR nuke goes fine, then there's going to be not much else happening basically in that entire fight. Now Shuri goes for another, for level 1, whilst Finn had to wait out that untouchable anyhow. Here Finn goes for his level 2, and nothing happens because Shuri is shock immune. And that is exactly what I thought is going to happen. Here he throws his level 1, but, he does gain his energize, but he does not inflict energy vulnerability upon Shuri. He goes for another level 2 here, but again, not much is happening. And with all of those extra armor ups, Shuri is getting more and more tanky as well. Now, he does have the energy vulnerability, but a minute has elapsed in this fight, and Shuri is still at 70% health and healing from willpower. Here Finn does make a mistake, eats a combo, gets some shocks placed onto him, and this fight definitely is not going well, and it's hard to imagine CGR doing worse against Hyperions. Now here, due to all the armor, Shuri takes hardly any damage. Now Finn does get some regen, but also because of despair, that regen doesn't really do anything, or doesn't appear to be doing much, and this just is not great. But again, I do think Finn threw this one on purpose, hoping for a better situation in round 3, which he is now much more likely to have, because CGR is off the table, and once you get that biggest, fastest, most powerful nuke off, you do have a much better chance of winning the following round. So let's see how, it actually took 70 seconds, 49. Yikes, that was definitely a beatable score there. But it's quite unexpected at the same time. So let's see how round 3 works out. Did not expect CGR to be half dead, and 70 seconds for that fight lost. There's definitely a level 3 to the face involved, in my opinion. So here Finn is placing his Hulkling on defense. Obviously, Hulkling on defense is quite troublesome. And out of all TabascoSauce's options, his best bet, in my opinion, would have been Hercules, thanks to Infuriate. But even that would have been a really dodgy fight, and then he would be left with pretty much no defenders whatsoever. But now it's Finn's turn to use his CGR against TabascoSauce's Hercules. And this, again, by the odds, definitely should go in the favor of Finn, because Hulkling in Rich Get Richer meta on defense is just an absolute menace. And even in a casual, kind of like less intrusive meta, Human Torch against Hulkling, it can work. It can be done in about 60 to 70 seconds. But CGR has basically all the tools needed to outpace it. Now, due to Infuriate, we can definitely see that there are some judgments missed. Luckily for Finn, he actually gained the effects, but he did not finish his cycle. He finishes his cycle right here, and with those armor breaks, definitely, dealing an absolute ton of damage. Now, here he goes for his level 1 to place those incinerates in combination with armor breaks. He's just retreating from Hercules, letting that immortality to expire. And here he's likely to intercept the special one and finish this fight out in 50 seconds, 49 seconds. And as expected, Human Torch still in there. And Human Torch against Hulkling again is doable, but much harder in Rich Get Richer meta. I would never want to do that matchup myself in this meta in particular. And in general, I'm not the biggest fan of this matchup either. So let's see how TabascoSauce finishes this one. And there we go. Finn takes the lead here. And 114 seconds. He did finish the match, though. That is quite impressive. Let's go to round 4. So it's 2-1 for Finn. And again, winner of this match gets a guaranteed $200 and a place in the semi-finals. So Finn finishes draft with Domino and Archangel. He also has drafted Quicksilver, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Thing, and Mr. Fantastic. And TabascoSauce has Rintra, Archangel, Warlock, Valkyrie, Spider-Ham, King Groot, and CGR. Last draft here belongs to Finn. Let's see who he chooses to go with. He has option of Killmonger, Black Cat, and Sasquatch. He opts for Sasquatch, just with pure levels of tankiness. And let's see how this works out. Also, Sasquatch is somebody that can't really be nuked by CGR. And that's why I think it was probably the best play, because it looks like Finn has enough CGR deterrent counters, including Thing and need be Mr. Fantastic, to prevent from that CGR effectively, well, being overly effective. Now we're going to see King Groot for Finn to deal with. Let's see who he chooses to go with. He actually chooses to go with Sasquatch. That's quite interesting. And then we have TabascoSauce using his Warlock up against Domino. Now, Warlock definitely is capable of doing Domino fight, but there will be a lot of crit fail damage. I believe last time I took Domino with my rank 4 Sig 200 Warlock against the rank 4 Sig 200 Domino, I lost about half of my HP, even though I never got hit. So let's see how Finn is going to take this one. Could be quite interesting. And here he is basically getting rid of King Groot's Furies, so he can start stacking his own debuffs. And with that, he also obviously needs to deal with all that Rich Get Richer power gain. But here he drops his first level 2. And that does some damage, inflicts 3 raptures. Now he has 4 raptures. He goes for another level 2. Replaces them with 3 new ones. He is going to drop his stagger to get rid of all of the Furies that King Groot would have gotten. And now let's see. Very interesting to see Sasquatch used offensively here. And again, he's at 7 rage charges here. But this time around, the Furies do sneak by, and there are whole 9 of them that will be purifying all of those raptures off. Luckily, those Furies are set to expire very shortly. He does refresh the existing Furies here with a level 1. But still, this match definitely is not going perfectly because of those Furies that managed to sneak by. He was unable to capitalize from a massive level 2. But that being said, slowly but surely, that King Groot has been taken down with 32 seconds left on the clock. 85-second fight, and he still takes the W because, as I said, Domino can be a very cruel champion to go up against if you do not have one of those champions that's basically immune to crit fail damage. And hey, well fought fight for Sasquatch. I think I personally would have tried to go with CGR there, but Sasquatch definitely worked out. And now we have Quicksilver being placed for TabascoSauce. Let's see how that works out and who he places on defense. And I'd suspect that the best defender by a mile there is a Rintra. And that's exactly who gets dropped. And Finn is going with Mr. Fantastic. And TabascoSauce is going with Archangel up against Quicksilver. Now, let's see how it works out. Mr. Fantastic against Rintra is a safe fight. Definitely a straightforward, safe, stable fight, but it takes time. It is likely going to take approximately 80 seconds, I'd say probably. Archangel obviously can do the fight much quicker, but it is Quicksilver, and there might be some complications. A lot of people do still have issues fighting Quicksilver, myself included. If I do not have a great counter for Quicksilver, the fights can get extremely messy. So it's going to be interesting to see with this slow and steady approach versus the Archangel nuke against Quicksilver. So here Mr. Fantastic again has baited out 2 level 1s already, which is perfect. Drops a level 2 of his own. Basically at this point the power gain that Rinter gets is fairly negligible. But Finn does let Rinter get to level 2, so no careful steady passive for Mr. Fantastic, which does make it slower for Mr. Fantastic to get up to his second level 2 of the fight. But even with 2 sets of these debuffs, obviously as we can see, the regeneration is getting reversed, that willpower healing is working in the favor of Mr. Fantastic, and now that the 3rd sets are placed, it is happening to even a bigger degree, and perhaps most importantly, all of the ability power gains have been reversed at this point. So no power from Rich Get Richer, no power from Rinter's signature ability here is going to matter, because all of that now basically is power drain, and we can see that Rinter is going down last few percent health, and as I expected, about 80 to 90 seconds. However, Quicksilver does take this one with 48-second kill, 88% HP remaining, so a very, very good kill there. And this is going to be the final sprint, basically, where Finn, in my opinion, positioned himself quite well, gotten Rinter off the board, and we have Thing and Spider-Ham. Obviously, Valkyrie is perfectly capable of taking Thing down quite quickly. But Spider-Ham is a champion with a bottom 20 health pool in the game, or bottom 30 health pool in the game. Let's say Spider-Ham's not a very chunky boy. Thing is quite chunky. So as long as Finn does not get absolutely screwed over by his RNG, he should get this win. Now, this was an extremely unfortunate start, getting 2 power stings and a taunt and a hit, but luckily willpower exists, and hopefully that willpower healing will be able to mitigate some of that damage taken. Finally, there is a neuro on Spider-Ham, and those power stings have expired, so he's free to throw level 1, and we're going to see him get taunt placed on him as well, and that definitely is super helpful. Unfortunately, whilst Spider-Ham had like 9 bleeds, Finn wasn't quite able to capitalize on that and convert them to neuros, but still 6 bleeds, 5 neuros. You can see the Spider-Ham's health pool is depleting quickly. We have 6 bleeds, 6 neuros now, so we have 48-second fight, and it is quite unlikely that Valkyrie will do it quicker. This was a very close fight though, 52 seconds against Finn. This was definitely RNG's take the real moment, but it is enough for Finn to take the win here and advance to semifinals.